Widely regarded as one of the greatest featherweights of all time, Max Holloway has bruised and battered a number of highly rated fighters in his division, and he's still going pretty strong. Before he returns to face a rising contender in Arnold Allen, let's take a look at some of Holloway's best performances in the UFC. Max Holloway versus Cub Swanson. Before his fight against perennial featherweight contender Cub Swanson in 2015, Max Holloway's career highlight was his loss to Conor McGregor. After his fight against Swanson, however, Holloway emerged as a legitimate contender in the UFC featherweight division. At only 23 years old, Holloway showed maturity beyond his years to decimate a far more experienced adversary in Swanson. The two had a feeling out process in the first minute of their fight, but within a few minutes, Holloway figured out Swanson. The veteran fighter struggled to keep up with Holloway's lateral and in and out movement, and the Hawaiian was touching his opponent at will without taking much damage in return. The second round was much of the same, with Holloway having the better of the striking exchanges and Swanson chasing shadows. In the third round, Holloway upped the ante and hurt Swanson with a body shot and nearly finished him with an arm triangle choke, which Cub managed to survive. Before long, Holloway dropped Swanson once again, and he didn't let him off the hook this time around, locking in a tight guillotine and finishing the fight with a minute left on the clock. Off the strength of his victory, Holloway put himself among the elite and continued his winning streak, which eventually culminated in a title win and 3 remarkable title defenses. Max Holloway versus Anthony Pettis. A year and a half after beating Cub Swanson, Holloway secured an interim title shot against Anthony Showtime Pettis, who wasn't eligible to win the title after missing weight, but it didn't really matter that much. The belt wasn't exactly the one Holloway was looking for, but it was still a sweet reward for all the hard work he had done up until that point. The beatdown of Pettis was exactly how Blessed envisioned himself becoming a UFC champion. Throughout his fight against Pettis, Holloway used excellent movement, controlled aggression, and brutal body shots to dispatch his opponent. The first round of their fight was pretty even, as the two spent the first couple of minutes feeling each other out, whereas the remaining 3 minutes were spent with both trying their luck with kicks and punches. Some of their strikes landed, while others didn't, but Holloway still managed to outstrike his adversary. Pettis opened the second round with a big shot, but it didn't have much of an impact on Holloway, who landed vicious body shots of his own and even forced a cut under Pettis' right eye. The outcome of the second round was the same as the first. Holloway outstruck his opponent and was up 2 rounds. Pettis opened the third round strongly, landing a big front kick that pushed Holloway back, but within seconds he was back to the center of the cage, outboxing his opponent while throwing occasional body kicks, which were doing most of the damage. In the final minute of the third round, Holloway secured a takedown, but Pettis managed to get up. And as soon as he did, Holloway went for broke, swarming Pettis with huge shots against the cage. Pettis was doubled over as Holloway swung away. A left to the temple, a right to the body, left to the body, then more and more punches until the referee intervened and put Pettis out of his misery. With the interim title wrapped around his waist, Holloway called out Jose Aldo, who was recently reinstated as the champion at that time after Conor McGregor was stripped of it. Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. With Pettis in the rearview mirror, Holloway faced Jose Aldo in a featherweight title unifier at UFC 212 in 2017. Aldo got off to a fantastic start as he stunned the interim champion and was having the better of the striking exchanges in the first couple of rounds. But in the third round, Holloway's pressure and boxing combinations earned him a TKO victory. The two fought again at UFC 218, where Holloway produced one of the best performances of his career against the consensus GOAT of the featherweight division. Unlike their first match, Holloway was the aggressor in the opening minutes of the fight in the rematch, throwing punches in bunches and utilizing his jab to devastating effect. Aldo was patiently chopping him down with brutal leg kicks and occasional body shots, but Holloway was landing the more impactful strikes. The second round was a lot more competitive as both fighters had their moments. Aldo's leg kicks were doing some damage as Holloway stepped a little gingerly on his left leg. Holloway opened the third round by sticking a left hand into Aldo's breadbasket, following it up with a knee to the face. Holloway then blitzed the Brazilian with more combinations and battered him against the cage until Aldo attempted a desperate takedown, which Holloway countered, putting the King or Rio on his back and landing vicious ground and pound. Within a few seconds, the fight was over, and Holloway put his rivalry with Aldo to a decisive end with a second consecutive third-round stoppage. Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. In his second title defense at UFC 231, Holloway faced Brian Ortega, who was the favorite, which was pretty crazy considering the fact that Holloway was coming off back-to-back wins against the division's GOAT. Ortega was undefeated at that time with 14 wins and was coming off back-to-back finishes of Cub Swanson and Frankie Edgar, so the hype was pretty legitimate. The Mexican-American was thought to be a tricky matchup for Holloway, given his exceptional submission grappling prowess. It was anything but. To the surprise of many, Ortega was one of the easiest fights of Holloway's career. The Hawaiian looked great throughout, outboxing Ortega and beating him into a pulp. Holloway was touching Ortega at will, and things went from bad to worse for the challenger as the fight progressed. Ortega had his moments during the fight as well. He landed some big shots on Holloway in the second and third rounds, but he simply couldn't keep up with Holloway's relentless pressure and volume striking. By the end of the fourth round, Ortega's face was a bloody mess. Credit where it's due, Ortega was willing to fight through the fifth round despite having his left eye swollen shut, but a cage side doctor was kind enough to not let him continue. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. After losing twice to Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway bounced back in the biggest ways possible by absolutely annihilating Calvin Kattar in January of 2021. Right from the word go, Holloway was in his zone, putting his opponent on the back foot and hitting him with some sweet boxing combinations. Kattar was having his moments as well, but none too significant to make a big impact. In the first round, Holloway landed 56 significant strikes, almost thrice as many as his opponent. In the second round, Holloway was even better, landing a total of 89 significant strikes. In the third round, he put his foot off the gas a bit, landing 75 significant strokes. But in the fourth round, he was all over the Boston finisher, punishing him with big punches to the face. Holloway landed a record 141 significant strikes in the fourth round. He didn't even allow his opponent the time to take a deep breath and readjust. It was relentless pressure and crazy output from start to finish. And by the end of the fifth round, Kattar's face was a bloody mess after absorbing more than 450 significant strikes in total. Absorbing that many significant strikes surely isn't something to be proud of, but Kattar was lucky enough to garner praise for his physical as well as mental toughness. Even Holloway was kind enough to praise Kattar after showing absolutely no mercy to him inside the cage.
Kattar is Boston strong, man. You know, Boston, it takes two to tango, and he was tangling, man. You know, the guy is just a demon, man. I don't know what he's made out of. I was with Davey Grant, and we was at the PI. I was in the jacuzzi. He was talking to me about my last fight. I was like, bro, I don't know what Kattar is made out of, you know, probably vibranium or something, but the guy is different, you know.
Max Holloway's performance against Kattar is easily the highlight of his career, and he won't be able to top it anytime soon. With that, we've come to the end of our video on Max Holloway's best performances in the UFC. Which performance do you think stands out? Give us your thoughts in the comments section. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications so you can get notified the next time we upload one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.